Motivation. That is the word hidden inside this mystery. Most people think motivation disappears because they are lazy, or distracted, or undisciplined. But often, something else is happening. You were ready to act. The decision already felt like yours. Then another person stepped in. A parent, a boss, a spouse, a friend. And suddenly, the energy vanished. Not because the task became harder, not because you changed your mind, but because ownership changed hands. The human mind cares deeply about autonomy. It wants to feel involved in its own choices. It wants to feel like the author, not the passenger. The moment a choice starts feeling controlled, the brain begins reacting differently. What looked like resistance to the task may actually be resistance to losing control. This is why the same action can feel completely different. Cleaning your room because you decided to feels one way. Cleaning your room because someone ordered you to feels another. The activity stays identical. The psychological experience changes completely, and that change can happen in seconds, sometimes almost instantly. Imagine a Saturday morning. You wake up early, the house is quiet, sunlight is coming through the windows. You walk into the living room. A few things are scattered around. A blanket on the couch, shoes near the door, dust along the edge of the floor. You glance toward the vacuum cleaner. A simple thought appears. I should clean this up. You take a few steps forward. Your hand reaches for the handle. Your fingers begin wrapping around it. Then you hear a voice. Can you vacuum the living room today? Nothing dramatic was said. No argument. No criticism. No conflict. Yet something changes. Your grip tightens slightly. Your jaw stiffens. Your shoulders rise a fraction. Your eyes shift away. And the motivation that existed 5 seconds ago feels weaker. Maybe much weaker. You cannot fully explain why. You just know that the desire is gone. This reaction was studied by Dr. Jack Brame, a pioneering American psychologist who introduced psychological reactance theory in 1966. Brame discovered something remarkably important. When people sense that their freedom of choice is being restricted, they experience psychological reactance, a motivational state aimed at restoring that freedom. The mind begins pushing back, not necessarily against the activity itself, but against the feeling of being controlled. In other words, the brain is protecting autonomy, even when doing so makes life less efficient. That is why you can genuinely want something and still lose enthusiasm the moment it feels imposed. The task remains the same, but the meaning behind the task changes. And for the brain, meaning often matters more than effort. The good news, this reaction is normal. And once you recognize it, you can work with it instead of fighting it. When motivation suddenly drops, pause long enough to identify the trigger. Ask yourself a simple question. Do I dislike the task? Or do I dislike being told? That distinction matters. Sometimes the answer surprises you. Another useful habit is reclaiming ownership. Instead of saying, I have to do this, try saying, I am choosing to do this. The action may be identical, but the mental framing changes. And framing influences motivation. When receiving instructions from others, translate them into personal decisions. Treat the request as information, not as a command controlling your identity. This preserves a sense of autonomy. It keeps your internal motivation alive. Think about the last time you wanted someone to do something. Maybe your partner, maybe your child, maybe a colleague at work. You wanted them to exercise more, to be more organized, to finish what they had started. And because you genuinely cared, You said something, "You really should go to the gym. You need to be more disciplined. Just do it. It's not that hard." You meant well, but something shifted in them. You could feel it. A subtle resistance, a slight withdrawal, maybe silence, maybe a short answer, maybe irritation you could not quite name. What happened? The same mechanism that quietly steals your motivation was now activated inside them. The moment you said you should, their brain registered something, not physical danger, but a threat to freedom. And the mind responds the same way, whether the pressure arrives from outside or rises from within. This is why well-meaning advice often backfires, why gentle reminders can create quiet resentment, why the harder you push, the further they pull away. It is not ingratitude. It is not stubbornness. It is reactance. Protecting something the brain considers essential, the right to choose. Brain's research points to something worth remembering. The way we speak to others shapes how much freedom they feel. Offering a choice feels different from issuing a direction. Asking a question feels different from making a demand. What do you think would work for you? Lands in a very different place then. You should do it this way. One opens something, the other closes it. Understanding reactance does not only change how you manage yourself, it changes how you show up for everyone around you. Most people spend years misunderstanding these moments. They call themselves lazy, unmotivated, stubborn, difficult. But the deeper truth may be simpler. The problem was never the vacuum cleaner, the dishes, the assignment, or the request. The real conflict was happening beneath awareness, between action and autonomy, between cooperation and control. Once you see that invisible struggle, many confusing behaviors suddenly make sense, including your own. Think about the last time this happened. Maybe someone told you to clean something, finish a project, make a phone call, or handle a responsibility. Were you resisting the task, or were you resisting the loss of choice? Share your experience in the comments. And if you enjoy exploring the hidden psychology behind everyday behavior, subscribe to Effortless Focus. Because sometimes the smallest reactions reveal the biggest truths about the human mind.